An internet service provider in North Idaho got so triggered over Twitter's decision to ban Trump that they decided to ban Twitter first. Wait, what? It's going to be an interesting video today. Yes, you heard that right. An internet service provider has banned Facebook and Twitter from their services. I'm also going to try to dive into a little bit of net neutrality as best as my monkey brain can handle. We got a good video today. Stick around. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to Shadow Ban with Bobby Krieger. I'm your host, Bobby, and this is the channel where we talk about everything social media censorship. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this is not a political channel. But the videos this week, they're going to be fairly political because it's just been such a heated and monumentous week for social media censorship. Whatever that means to you, we cover the spectrum of it, from influencers, rappers, and more. So anyways, let's just get into it. Here's what's going on. Citing censorship concerns, North Idaho internet provider blocks Facebook and Twitter. That's right, you heard that right. And I think that this whole situation went something like this. Twitter decides to ban Trump. This internet service provider goes, "You're not banning Trump. We're banning you." That's right. So here's what's happening. Your T1 Wi-Fi said it's blocking the sites for some customers who requested it due to censorship. So a North Idaho provider, Your T1 Wi-Fi, confirmed it is blocking Facebook and Twitter from its Wi-Fi services for some customers due to censorship claims. Your T1 Wi-Fi provides internet services to North Idaho and the Spokane area. The move comes after Twitter and Facebook banned the president from their platforms due to the incitement of violence and undermining the transition of power to President-elect Joe Biden. Your T1 Wi-Fi claims that they blocked the social media sites due to the censorship. However, the social media sites banned the president due to the violations of their terms of service. And this is the tweet where I saw it earlier. It says, "Stranger than fiction, an internet service provider in Idaho decided to block access to Facebook and Twitter due to customer complaints about the Trump platforms banning Trump." And this is the email that they sent out. I'm gonna have to zoom in here, but like, look at how 1990s this email is. Now, I get that this can still be a really hard issue for some people, and they still want to hear this lighthearted tone, but let's take a moment back and to relax with all the craziness going on. Social media censorship sucks whenever it happens, but we can appreciate the stance of this Idaho company standing up and sticking it to Twitter and Facebook. We could appreciate the humor in it. You know, we could just appreciate the situation without going crazy. This is just a wild time to be alive. So here's the thing. Can we expect more companies, more internet providers to block Facebook and Twitter? Well, the answer is no, but it's possible. And the reason it's possible is because earlier in 2018, 2019, there was a bill called Net Neutrality that actually prevented internet service providers from doing things like this. And Trump overthrew it. And the irony is that net neutrality was what was protecting Trump in the first place. Check this out. So I know Trump is upset about being banned from Twitter, but net neutrality means that he can start his own site on the web and not have to worry about ISPs interfering with him. At least it would mean he hadn't if he hadn't repealed net neutrality. So what is net neutrality? What is this thing that's allowing internet service providers to actually have the power to drop a website like Facebook or drop an entire president like Trump? It's confusing, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, but let's just go back to the article that started all of this. Trump killed net neutrality. Congress is getting a chance to bring it back. And you might remember this fight against net neutrality as when people just lost their minds 2 years ago. I remember seeing memes on Twitter saying, the internet is going to be paid for play now, or it's going to cost you $1 per tweet. People completely over-sensationalized the power of net neutrality. Not to say that it didn't have drawbacks, but I'm just saying people really, really over-exaggerated this. Net neutrality, or the idea that the company from whom you purchase internet access doesn't have the right to control or manipulate what you use it for. For example, Comcast, the parent company of NBC Universal, shouldn't be able to force Xfinity users to read NBC over CNN. And Verizon, the new parent company of Yahoo and the Huffington Post, shouldn't be able to manipulate Files companies into reading Yahoo News instead of the New York Times. Conservatives didn't like this bill because it restricts internet providers. And I'll interject a little opinion at the end, but essentially they said that this made internet providers less competitive. And I guess they're saying that it restricted their freedom of speech to choose who they do business with. But the irony is that this gave internet service providers the ability to kick Donald Trump off of their platform. Now, my only opinion on net neutrality is, one, it's really difficult to understand for a monkey like me, and I've really tried to understand it. I will say that I'm always cautious when the narrative is so pro or anti. You know, the narrative is that the government is here to save you. They're here to shoo away these big bad companies that are greedy and want your money. That's what the narrative was. I always scare away from that narrative because I just know that these bills can be really outdated, and the foundation they used to write net neutrality, I think, was based on like 1990s television services. You know, it's just Congress really isn't up to date and knowledgeable on the internet. And I also see a future where, you know, satellite internet can exist, and I could see innovation happening in the space, and I wouldn't want this to get in the way. Now, would it? Will it? Can it? I have no idea. I don't really understand it. But that was just my opinion. I was hesitant. That's all. But look, this came back to bite Trump in the hiney. Now, it also gives these internet companies the ability to fight back. And so now what we have is a double-edged sword. And I want you to let me know in the comments below, what do you think the future is for freedom of speech on the internet? I mean, we can go down two lanes. One, we could restore net neutrality and not give internet service providers the ability to kick people off of their platform. Or we can keep what we're doing now without net neutrality and allow the rise of a conservative internet service provider. Now, I'm not saying I'm pro-conservative internet service provider, but this is what we've been asking for. I think what a lot of conservatives and the ones who have been watching my channel recently have been saying is, hey, Parler, conservative safe spaces, we wanted that, and they took away our right to do that. Maybe it's not a conservative app. Maybe that's not what you wanted. Maybe the longer play was a complete conservative infrastructure of a whole internet service dedicated to conservatives. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. Would you rather have the ability to create a conservative infrastructure on the internet where you could base websites and apps, or would you rather play with the rest of the team and follow the rules and still have, you know, kind of the uniform sanctions that the rest are afforded to by being part of the bigger circle? It's a really interesting question. Now, going back to the beginning, the fact that we have, you know, Idaho fighting back, do you think that more states could follow? Do you think that more internet service providers can follow? Let me know in the comments below. Try not to get too crazy in this one because I don't have the bandwidth to fight people in the comments all day. I just don't know how to explain to you guys in the proper words because you don't know my intentions. But it's not that I'm not left or that I'm not right. It's just I believe that social media censorship is bigger than politics. And at the end of the day, us fighting, it only comes back to hurt creators. You know, for example, it only comes back to hurt the creator who's vocally speaking against Trump on Instagram and he's shadow banned because his words are marked as spam, or the one who is negative as something. You know, it just affects everybody. That's truly what I believe. And there's other political channels. You can go watch those. Like and subscribe before we're shadow banned. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.